Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. We're excited to have you all here from wherever you may be, whatever background, faith, or place you may be in the world, and dealing with whatever afflictions, addictions that you may have in your life. We're grateful to be a resource to you and to anybody else seeking a solution to a seemingly hopeless state of mind and of body. I'm Justin B. from Spokane. I am a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict, and I'm grateful to be living in the one day at a time recovery that is promised as I strive to be willing and work this program of recovery. I'm not perfect, I'm not a saint, but I'm sure walking this path. I'm joined today by my cohorts in recovery, David G. and Nikki M. around this virtual roundtable, and I'm excited to have them with me. Nikki, why don't you jump in, introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll move to the next step here.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of many fellowships, and I suffer the disease of alcoholism. It centers in my brain, and I need to keep the words and the thoughts and the ideas of this big book right at the front of my noggin. Otherwise, I won't make it through the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Happy to have you here. David, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Justin, for your service, and so good to be with you always, Nikki. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, recovered alcoholic addict of many sorts from Oklahoma, and I'm very grateful to be at the roundtable today. Thank you.
Happy to have these two who I consider giants in the recovery world with me at this roundtable. And I hope that each of you out there in the listening world gain from this experience as we go page by page, line by line through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the first 164 pages. Today, we will be starting a new chapter, Chapter 4, We Agnostics, and I'm excited to get into this. As we closed up this last reading in the last episode, we finished up what we learned was the finishing of Step 1, the first 43 pages plus the doctor's opinion were all dedicated to Step 1. We're now going to jump into Step 2 in Chapter 4 of We Agnostics. And I'm excited to get into this. This chapter has probably been the most impactful chapter in my own recovery. And I'm excited to get the insights from David and Nikki M. So each of you out there, grab your 4th edition of the Big Book, open up to page 44, get a highlighter, a pen, piece of paper. Let's take some notes and dive into this thing as we go through this. I will start reading here. We're going to read page 44 and the top of page 45. Here we go. Chapter 4, We Agnostics. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. To one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, such an experience seems impossible. But to continue as he is means disaster, especially if he is an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. But it isn't so difficult. About half our original fellowship were exactly that type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not true alcoholics. But after a while, we had to face the fact that we must find a spiritual basis of life, or else. Perhaps it is going to be that way with you, but cheer up. Something like half of us thought we were atheists or agnostics. Our experience shows that you need not be disconcerted. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral. We could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. All right. So good stuff in there. And I have a lot of notes out that have helped me a lot in this understanding of this chapter. But let's jump into this a little bit. Nikki, why don't you start us off with some of your takeaways from this reading?
Well, thank you, Justin. And again, just the service, Rico 12, I know it's not only helping us, but it helps a lot of people. So I'm grateful. We agnostics, and I have to Google a lot of these things because I always like to think I'm the smartest and prettiest girl in the room, but I'm not. Okay. And that's okay because there's room for improvement, always growing. So I had to Google agnostic, a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence of nature of God, or of anything beyond material phenomenon. Like it's like a skeptic, a doubter, a cynic. It doesn't mean that they don't believe at all. They're just a person who claims, nor they don't have faith or disbelief. They're just kind of there. So I wasn't one of those. I wasn't. I knew there's a God. I came from a Christian background, but also Muslims. I'm Lebanese. I mean, there's all these different things in my family. And, but I didn't really claim anything. I always thought I was spiritual, but I didn't know. So I guess I could have kind of fallen in there, but I knew there was something there. And this disease right here, I learned about the disease of alcoholism in the preceding chapters. So I'm really armed with the facts. But here's how I qualify. I love this I've got certain things in here really highlighted and mucked up. But, Nikki, why are you even qualified to be on this and talk about this chapter or this? Because here it is. If when I honestly want to, and I find I cannot quit what, Nikki? Quit your drinking? Well, I'm not a type 3 alcoholic, but quit my crazy acting out behaviors or quit my obsession with self. And if when thinking or acting out in any manner, I have little control over the amount I take. What does that look like? The amount of thoughts I take. Because I'll go real quick to life is no good, I should die in my disease. I am probably, I don't even look at that word. I am an addict. I'm a type 3 addict. I've suffered the disease of alcoholism. And if that's the case, and I put, yes, that is the case, I'm suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience every day I put. See, I need a spiritual experience every day. I don't know if it was on the last, we've talked about the previous podcast, David and Justin, you've said it, like you can't stay clean off yesterday's spiritual experience. I can't even stay clean off yesterday's shower. So every day. And then further down in the next paragraph, it says, to be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. And why? Both of these alternatives, both of these choices look the same. Because the addict life is the only life I know. Living like those boring people, living like those freaks in religion. No, I don't want to do either of that. And, I want what I want. So that's and then it goes deeper. Do you want to die or do you want to live? That's bottom line. Because remember, we're armed with the facts. We know we're beyond human aid. And this is what these next couple things say. It says but after a while we had to face, and this is what I was telling my sponsee that I was working with this morning. She's been sober for a long time. You have to face the fact that you either live on a spiritual basis every day, all day. This is radical, soldier, is what I told her. Or else what? You die. Or else you die or go insane. And what's insanity is the walking dead, like half of the human race, walking around, blotting out their consciousness with anything they can get their hands on. And so again, it says here, you don't need to be disconcerted. You don't need to be worried here. Like if a mere code of moral and philosophical, my life, if my morals and values, I'm never going to choose a drug over my children. And I threw my son out in the disease of alcoholism. I said I would never be with a man who hit me. I would judge women, how they're so weak. How could they do that? And then when my eardrum was perforated, I begged him to take me back. And it's not enough. See, I need a relationship with this power. I need to get to know it. I need to communicate with it. I need to learn it. Like my life depends on it, because no human aid, no amount of morals or values will keep me safe and sane in this disease. And then it says such codes, philosophies, they don't save me. And I'm in a progressive disease. For my 30-year-old daughter, I was managing. I would not throw her out for a man. I just have the man join me. But when I got to my son, 10 years later, 12 years later, I threw him out, And it says here, our human resources. What are human resources? They are the easier, softer ways, the middle of the road solutions, the half measures, the human aids. Marshall, I have no willpower. It's going to fail me utterly. See, I don't have any power. This is drilled into me because I love my big book, and it's going to fail me because when I'm losing my mind, but I love God, and this book gets me to God. So, yeah, I'm drifting around here, but I guess really this is a real powerful. And if you're qualifying for a meeting, again, that top paragraph says it. See, I don't need to hear why you drink too much, you sleep around, you do this, you eat, you weigh 1,000 pounds. That's not what qualifies you. What qualifies me for being right now at this table is that I can't control the amount of anything I take, and I can't stop once I start. I need this experience every day. I can't wait to hear what my friend David G. and his accent has to say.
Thank you, Nikki. I can't either. So let's get right into that. David, as we read through that, what are some of the things that jump out at you in your experience, strength, and hope?
Well, I just want to say first, Justin, that for the first time, I disagree with Nikki. She is the prettiest girl in the room today. And man, I'm really grateful for that. So, wow, what a chapter, man. And what a great share, Nikki. You hit it right on the head. I just want to say to you guys that are listening out there, my experiences, we're not coming to believe in God here. I mean, what we're doing is we're coming to believe that something can restore us from the belief we've had in God that's obviously not working for us up to this point. We've talked about thoughts and ideas and concepts all the way through that first step. We've seen those were the things that set us up. And those are the things we have to recover from. We've talked about it over and over and over. If you look carefully at the second step, it says we came to believe, or we came to believe that a power. See, those first two words, we came, that's past tense. Most of us already came here with some kind of belief. Some kind of belief. And even if you're an agnostic, you have some kind of belief. How's that belief working out? Where are you at in recovery today? I know at 25 years, I had to question, where am I at with this? But notice how it says we come to believe that. It doesn't say we came to believe in a power. It says we come to believe that a power greater than self. And that's huge. And we're going to look at it in depth as we move through this. So the word Gnostic goes all the way back to its original, the Hebrew Greek word of gnosis, which if you keep tracing that back and back, it means knowledge. And AG in front of any word just means without. So really the word agnostic just means without knowledge of God. I only have a belief in. I don't have a hell of a lot of knowledge or experience with. And I only believe what I was taught as a kid growing up. So this is how self manifested. It has tricked me into believing things about God that scare the hell out of me, that drive me away from it. It convinces me that he won't help me because of the things that I've done. The people, I killed a man for God's sake. How could God ever have anything to do with me? But it just turns out that this isn't true. Man, what great hope in this chapter. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something about alcoholism. That should be a question. Either you did or you didn't. Not alcohol, not sex, not love, not ism, alcoholism. And we hope we've made clear the distinction. And if you look up that word, that means very noticeable between the alcoholic and the non. Remember, they talked about the hard drinker. He might have got the hell beat out of him, but he, ill health, this, he quit. Not so with us addicts. And Nikki said it, if when you honestly want to, that's because of the mental obsession. You can't quit entirely, or if when drinking, that's because of the physical allergy. You have little amount over then you're probably alcoholic. People ask me all the time, you think I'm an alcoholic, addict? Well, I said, I don't know, just answer a couple of questions for me. They got that 44 question pamphlet in Alcoholics Anonymous that is worthless. It needs to be. I can't imagine Abby going to Bill saying, all right, I got 44 questions for you here. Let's see if you get these right so we can qualify you as an alcoholic and move on into recovery. Shit, he'd have died. None of us would have really got the message. You know what I mean? So I like what it says. If that be the case, you may. It doesn't say you will or you are. It says you may be suffering. And it's a pretty damn good possibility. In my case, it's absolutely true that I suffer from an illness that only this spiritual experience will conquer. I need a spiritual experience to conquer spiritual disease. For one who feels, look at that keyword. We've been looking at these feelings all along, right? To one who feels he's an atheist or an agnostic doesn't mean he is, but if he feels he is, then his experience is that he is. So what do we need to recover? The damn feeling. Such an experience seems impossible. Of course it does, because that's how I feel, that's what I think, that's what I believe. That's what has to change in order for me not to feel and believe or think that way no more. Because to continue on as I am means disaster, especially if he's an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. And here it is, to be doomed to an alcoholic death, that's step one. We've seen that all the way through. Or to live on a spiritual basis, that's step two. Remember page 25 in the book? They're not always easy alternatives to face, and I absolutely agree with Nikki. It's because they look the same. I don't know how. But our book says it isn't so difficult. About half our original fellowship, so that's 50 people of the first 100 were exactly of this type. At first, some of us tried to avoid the issue, hoping against hope we were not, but after a while we had to face the fact. And we're going to get into some fact finding and some fact facing here before much longer in this process. And we're going to face the fact. And if we don't, we're going to get beat up until we do or till we die. So that's the great hope. After a while, we had to face the fact that we must, there's that word again, or else. Cheer up. Something like half of us look at this keyword, thought. Just because, and if you think you are, you probably are. But when your thoughts change, you're not. It's just how it is. I don't know about you. I'm not here to recover from alcohol anymore. I'm past that. I'm not here to recover from lust and sex and drugs and all that. I'm past that. I'm here to recover from the shit that drives me to that. And that's what this is. And so if a mere code of morals, a better philosophy, that just means knowledge, there's that word again, was sufficient to overcome it, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found such codes and philosophies, and these are probably my 4 favorite words in this part of that paragraph. They did not save us. The problem that I find with most people I sponsor, they keep going around to all this other shit trying to save them, and then add the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous to it. My experience is that you have the spiritual experience, and you can add all the shit you want. Why? Because it did not save me, no matter how hard I tried. And I tried, trust me. Like Nikki said, I've tried the Buddhism, I've tried the Muslim, I've tried all these different religions. That's all fine. But see, I don't know what the problem is. It's between my ears. And so we could will these things with all of our might, but the needed power is not there. Our human resources, and I'm talking about the fellowships, guys, that's a human resource. And I love it, and I got to have it. And I'm not saying that I would not, but I'm telling you, in my situation and people that I work with that are like me, it's not enough. My sponsor, good man, love him to death. He's not enough. He can't be. Why? It fails me utterly. And so it's just not sufficient. The word sufficient means enough. It's not enough. So good stuff in this. And like I say, as we go through this, we're really going to begin to dig in now how to recover from this. We can do that by coming to believe that something greater than self, I take that word, our, my, your, away from self. I call it what it is, self. We're going to recover from self. And until we do, we might be sober, but that's all we're going to be. And for me, that's not enough. I mean, sober is not good for a guy like me. There has to be recovery from a hopeless state of mind, or I'm batshit crazy in sobriety. Ask some of the people I go to meetings with, they'll tell you that dude's crazy and shit. Helps a lot of people and they recover, but he's crazy. That's kind of all past me now. Why? Because I found out the source. So Justin, I love you, man. Thank you so much. Nikki, thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, David. I think we're going to go in a little bit different direction in this episode than typical, because I need to share a little bit of my insights on this reading too. And I think this is kind of where my higher power has put me in recovery is working with people like me. And it's not that I'm seeking them out, necessarily finding people exactly like me. In fact, I'm trying to seek out people who are not like me to get different things. But people seek me out who are like me. And what that means is, to one who feels he is an atheist or agnostic, and I've put in the words, or religionist. I am somebody who my entire life have been very religious, extremely religious, trying to be, or check all the boxes and, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and just be the perfect practitioner of my religion. And it didn't work. All of the reading harder, the praying harder, the going to church, synagogue, or mosque harder, all of those things, doing them harder, did not work for me, even though people would tell me, hey, you just got to believe more. You just got to do these things more. That's going to be what works. And it didn't work. And this last paragraph on page 44, if a mere code of morals or better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. If that were the case, if that worked for me, or if I still think that the solution is in my religion, what the heck am I doing in these rooms? Why am I here if that works for me? Why am I still not able to, quote unquote, and this term drives me crazy, overcome my addiction? I can't. If I am an addict of the hopeless variety, which I have come to know that I am, all of these codes of morals and better philosophies are not sufficient to save me. Such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. And I tried. I gave 2 years of my life to go preach this religious belief to others, thinking that would save me. I did all of these different things, thinking that working harder and devoting myself harder to the God of who I thought I knew, it wasn't the God of my understanding. It was the God that I knew 100%. It was true. The way that I believed it was did not work for me. And I had to be humbled and recognize that there's got to be a different way. And that doesn't mean that my religion or anybody else's religion in and of itself is garbage. It means that the way that I practiced it and thought of it did not work for me. And I think that is one of the things that has been so eye-opening to me in this chapter. In fact, I remember the first times I was introduced to the Big Book, and we got to this chapter. We agnostics. Well, I'm not agnostic. I'm not atheist. I know God. I'm good. I don't need to dive into this until I don't even remember if it was someone that suggested adding that word or if it was like God saying, dude, look at yourself. Until I added that, or religionist, to that second paragraph, did anything change? And I think for someone like me, humility to recognize that I am agnostic. I am without knowledge. And no matter how much I seek to learn knowledge from the best books, from the best talks, from the best preachers, whatever it may be, that knowledge will fail me. That's a human resource. And I have to connect with the power, the capital P power, that I continue to know, to see clearer and clearer one day at a time as I strive to enlarge my spiritual life. And that's kind of what I take away from what we've read so far and my own experience in this. I want to go back and just maybe do some commentary, some crosstalk in here. Nikki, do you have any crosstalk that you want to jump in on this?
Well, no, I want to ask you a question. That's funny. This is really great. I want to ask you a question, like back to this where it says, what does that look like? Because you share in such a great way. And I know a little more details on your life, and you're out there for 2 years serving for God. And when that doesn't work, what do you do? Like, what does your bottom look like? Because I see this with a lot of people who are religious. It's like being an active addiction is pretending to be moral, like in that sense. Like what does that look like for you, where you're so penetrated in this community And then what do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah. So many people in a religious community with that bottom, they just give up and say, well, this God thing is a crock of crap. I'm just going to go and live my life absolutely unshackled, unreined, and give the middle finger to God and organized religion. That's what so many people do. I was too proud to do that because I was too wrapped up in what other people thought of me. I never got to the point of I don't give a crap. I'm just going to go off. Where my bottom was recognizing, well, it was getting honest. Honestly, that was my bottom when I recognized that I truly am powerless. There's no way that I would ever admit powerlessness before I got to that bottom. No way. In fact, even when I introduce myself in these meetings, I am a son of an all-powerful, all-loving God. And in my previous understanding of that, that means that I am all-powerful and all-loving. Well, I'm not. And that was my bottom, recognizing that I'm not. I'm not what I proclaim to be. I'm a dishonest, I'm a lying, manipulating, conniving piece of garbage when left to my own power. And that's kind of, I mean, there was more to my bottom than that, but that was kind of the realization that bounced me off the bottom.
Thanks, Justin. No, that's helpful just because I see it a lot. And this chapter is so exciting because we're going to be talking about this power. So I'm just so grateful. And I'm glad you changed it up a little bit because your perspective, especially coming from, and that's why I love how God has done this dynamic at our table. Like you come from this belief system and to see you shine. This is why you don't leave the rooms, people. You do watch miracles. You're a miracle, Justin. Like just knowing your story, getting to know you and seeing how you work this program. I'm just so grateful to be here with you guys.
Thank you, Nikki. David, do you have any crosstalk for either of us here in this?
Not a lot. I mean, everything is just so on point. I do see from this that it is not self-help. And I think that's where a lot of us get tangled up. We think that we have to do this or we have to do that. The book's saying, no, man, all you need to do is follow the outline in the next 40 pages, and you're going to have an experience that's going to change your idea of God. Keyword, idea. We're not asking you to change God. Can't do that. My wife, was 22 years sober in AA, and she got hung up in this a lot in the beginning. She's just, I am not changing my conception of God. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to come to believe in something greater than self, which obviously has caused your demise. I mean, what a hell of a story that woman has. Good God. And it's just like, you wouldn't even know it today. And so I'm just so excited to get into this because it's going to really begin to explain how to recover from the self. And that's what the problem is, I mean, I keep running around trying all of this other stuff, even in recovery. That's what's so crazy to me is I was there so long and they kept saying, go to more meetings, work with more guys, read more books, go to more health farms, sanitariums, should have been saying, when really I was looking at the solution the entire time. I knew the big book was the solution. I just wasn't seeing it the way that I see it today. I didn't realize that it was all of these thoughts and all of these past beliefs about religion and about Jesus and about Buddha and Muhammad and the Indian sweat lodges. And see, these are all road signs to the way to the Creator. They're not the Creator. The book's not the Creator, but it's the Creator's way of reaching us. So I don't know. I just can't say it enough. When I work with a man, I mean, we go straight to this book. And I just tell him, I mean, for the next little while, there only needs to be one book in your hand, and it's this one. And if it's not, then, you need to look for somebody who don't mind you having a lot of books in hand. So I don't know. I love this, and I love your story as well. And I love what it said. We found these codes and philosophies did not save us. How did I find that? By getting my tail beat hard in here over and over and over. So And finally, it was just like, man, why can I not recover? Because I keep trying to recover from alcohol, keep trying to recover from sex, lust, drugs. That's a promise. Recover from the thinking that sets you up to that stuff. And I guarantee you that stuff goes away, because that's the effect. That's not the cause. That's the flea. That's not the dog. The flea keeps jumping around to other addictions. The dog is the self. It stays the same. So good to be here. Really good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I think I'll close this out with an invitation to the agnostic, the atheist, or the religionist out there. The invitation that I have for you is to whatever your conception of a higher power is, of a God is, open your mind to the thought that you don't know everything, that there is so much more to understand and know about a power higher than yourself. Don't think that just because your book of scripture or your code of ethics or your science says it's this way does not mean that's what it is. Open your eyes, open your mind, open your heart. Willingness, open-mindedness, and honesty is all that's required in recovery. And put that into thought, because dang it, you're worth it. And when we work this and we open our minds, amazing miracles happen.